It's going to be a little unusual.
It's going to be really weird.
It's going to be a little different.
Me talking this much.
Yeah, I'm going to just let you do the whole thing.
I think that's a horrible idea.
Welcome back to Talking Story. My name is John Minton. Hey, thanks so much for coming by the channel. That right there is the best producer on BookTube and the #1 son.
If you say so.
Well, I only have one.
Well, the producer part.
Oh, I thought you meant the son part.
Yeah, no, well, you can count Pooh, but...
I mean, well, yeah, I mean, everyone's saying it. People are saying that.
No, I don't think anyone's saying that.
Yeah, it's on bathroom walls, so it must be true. Hey, there's a lot of plants there beside you, man. Like, what is going on? Are you starting a garden?
No, this cat that we're looking after wants to eat everything. So we have to keep the plants in here because he will eat them.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, okay. So this is going to be a little unusual today. This is kind of straight from our producers who, let's face it, they're kind of in charge here because we don't know what we're doing.
They should be in charge.
Yeah. And the last producer called, he said, you know what? We want you guys to kind of open up a little bit. We want, dig deep, talk a little bit. So we kind of came up with this format. What this is going to be is kind of like a little father and son talking story. And we are going to focus on stories that if they didn't change your life, they kind of marked a transition period. Like after this story came into my life and marked this moment in time for me, things were different. I was different after that. I've kind of put 5 together. Jacob has put 5 together. And we're just going to go back and forth and kind of talk about how story can impact your life, what it means to us, how it has marked time for us in a transitional way as we go from one phase of our lives to another. So we kind of thought we were just going to have a little bit of a talk like that and kind of see what happens.
I have a feeling you're going to get way deeper on this than I am.
Well, I mean,
as far as having like phases in your life to mark, I have not had a lot of phases in my life.
That's what I was going to say. I've had way more phases. I had my out of control phase, my goth phase, my neo phase.
You did not have a goth phase.
No, I did not. I had my mullet phase. There's a lot of
I'm sure you
had. Yeah, there was a lot going on. So. I mean, thank you for our producers for asking for this. We're going to see what happens. This is pretty different. It's kind of more of a father-son chat.
I like it. I'm excited.
Podcasty father-son chat.
Maybe this one will be a little bit longer then. That'll be interesting.
Well, we'll see how long or what you have to say.
Not a lot, as usual.
Okay. Well, that's already a bad sign.
Why don't you go first then?
Oh, okay. No, I was going to say, why don't you go first?
Oh, no.
Because that takes the pressure off me.
Well, okay. For my first one,
okay.
I used to read...
Wait a minute. What? Did you go like linearly into like from earliest to like how did you put this list together?
It's not linear in time, but kind of in theme.
Okay. See, you've already gotten deeper. Like you've got a shirt with a collar on and stuff. Like you took this too far. I can already tell.
This is just what I wore to work today, and I didn't have the energy to take it off. All right. It's not an attempt to look good.
Okay, go ahead. I went linearly. I went in order of time.
Okay. Well done.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I used to read a decent amount when I was a kid. You know that. And then I kind of stopped because of school. I read enough that it was clear that I enjoyed it. How about that? Is that more accurate?
Sure. I mean, if that's how you remember it.
But pretty much because of school and being forced to read things that you may not have been super interested in, I just kind of stopped altogether, which I feel like is what happens to a lot of people. So when I got out of college to get back into it, I picked up Harry Potter. That was a big change for me. I mean, that's just all joy, full-blown escapism, starting from the real world as a younger person and being kind of chosen to be invited into this wizarding world. It was a perfect way to get back into enjoying story and being able to tell myself, oh, I can read big books. I'm not
Yeah.
illiterate. I can do this.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny because your mom had the same experience. Like out of college, she used to love reading love story. And I started reading some Harry Potter to her. And I'm telling you, it's just magic. It pulls people right out of that funk. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's amazing.
Maybe that's what it is. The magic and the whimsy of it. The stakes aren't high. You can.
Well, they're pretty high. They get pretty high.
Later on, they do. But I mean, Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone, you just let go, have fun. Mm-hmm. There's still things going on, but it's not. I don't know, like a deep war movie or something.
No, and it's story beats that you recognize, like back to Dickens and before. You know, it's like it's somewhat of a comfort blanket, right?
Then Chosen One, comfort food, kind of recognizable stuff. Then it gets darker, and it kind of But the same thing is it gets longer, and you can tell yourself, oh, I'm not. I can do it. I can actually read longer books. I'm not like incapable. And then the themes get darker and you start to get more invested, and there's like a wizarding superiority complex happening that's suddenly in this children's series a lot of people start dying, and a lot of people start dying. But that was a big change for me.
Yeah. That's a good one, man.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
I thought it was
and it's funny because that series for me has done that for several people I know.
Did it do that for you? When did you read Harry Potter? As it came out, right?
I read it as it came out, yeah.
Okay.
So I was kind of in on that. Maybe not when maybe it was up to book 3 or something, and I jumped on board because it was becoming such a groundswell of people like, oh my God, into it. You had to see what was going on.
I gotcha. Well, then what's your first one?
Here's my first pick, and it's kind of the same. I don't remember exactly what age I was, but I was young. And I was in my grandparents' house, and the animated Hobbit by Ralph Bashki was coming on that night. And I think I had read books up to that point, but very, kind of children's books. And never a story that would like completely overcome me and carry me away. And I remember being excited. It's like, oh, this is going to be on TV tonight. And I'm at my grandparents' house. I'm gonna tune in. I'm gonna watch this, and I remember it was like lightning hit me watching that animated. Orson Bean was the voice of Bilbo, and and there was music in it, and it was like lightning went straight through me. I did not know a story could transport me like that. I didn't know that kind of story existed. It was like it was written just for me. It's like, oh my God, this is the world I want to go to. This is my thing. I love this. I'm enwrapped in it. And then soon after that, I remember we were doing a class was going, and we were going to the library, and I found that book and I read The Hobbit. And from that moment, I have never not had a day of my life that I could not, if you'd asked me, hey, what book are you reading? I would have a title and know it. There were times in my life when maybe that title sat on my bedside for 3 or 4 months because I couldn't finish it. Sure. I couldn't get through it. There was other stuff going on in my life. But there has never been a day of my life from that point to now that if you ask me, hey, what are you reading right now? And I could tell you that title. And it defined me. It changed me. It's a big part of who I am and how I experience the world is through these stories. And I will always remember that moment when it just struck me, and it was like a physical experience, just like the lightning went right through me when I was watching that animated version, and then after that read the book.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, am I hearing correctly that for the first pick, I picked a book and you did not?
Well, I picked an animated and then read and then went to the library and read the book. Yeah.
I guess that still counts.
But I told you, because I told you movies and plays and things count. It's just story
we'll get
in
there.
General.
Believe me.
Oh, believe me, I have no doubt. So you're up. Now it's you. Now you're on to number 2.
Well, now for my number 2, I kind of have to take back everything I said in the first one because it's a book I read in school. When I look back on all the books I read in school, this is the one that I was
this is what there was one.
There was
one was assigned. Oh my gosh. Okay.
And I think you probably know what it is already. But
I actually don't right now.
Really? Okay. Well, maybe this will give it away. Because the reason I like it so much is that I often have a problem with most horror stories, which is that it doesn't have a lot of emotion. Really, the only thing that it has about it is fear. Most of the time, you're just chasing that fear. And to me, a lot of the time, that feels like a gimmick, and it kind of puts me off. But with Frankenstein, that is different. The emotions are directly driving the plot, and the characters are feeling such deep human emotions and experiencing these horrible things that cause them to create the plot. And to me, reading that was like, oh, this is how it should work.
Right, right.
I had never put that together until that point, that this is what horror should be doing to me.
Yeah. So you had not experienced like that level of character tragedy or trauma before?
No, I mean, like the things that I had seen were like horror movies, so like a Conjuring or Insidious, or like things that you're not chasing that deep human experience of what, not just the effect of the scare, but what causes the scare itself. And is it you? Is it something else? How do we get there? What makes you scared? So, I mean, to me, it's like, yeah, okay, cool. You have a scary vampire. Do you have a egotistical, rich wannabe scientist kid that is so out of his mind that he creates this creature that is lonely beyond human conception and just is
and then you have the creatures
and kills everything? Like
they have the creatures trauma, to fit in and all. That's a great choice.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of these that I picked are not like I became a new person after reading this. It was just a realization about story that I had not encountered until then.
Well, that can be changing because you moved on to be a storyteller yourself. So I'm sure that impacts you as the kind of stories you want to tell.
It does. That's kind of the theme we're going for here with all of my picks.
I see. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Okay. Look, this is my number 2 choice, and it's a movie. So
oh my God.
Who's surprising who at this point?
I can't believe it.
All right. So I was this is a little bit past The Hobbit, a little bit older, right? Okay. And I was with my dad. And my dad was not a happy guy. His life had not gone the way he wanted it to go. He was generally very, very melancholy guy, right? And there was a moment in time, and I will always forever and ever remember this because it changed me drastically. There was a movie coming on, and he wanted me to watch this movie. And I'm almost positive I was too young to be watching this movie. But this movie was very important to him, and he wanted to share it with me, and he wanted me to watch it with him. And that movie was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Based on the Ken Kesey book, directed by Milos Forman. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, starring Jack Nicholson and so many people. And I sat there and watched it with my dad. And during the movie, of course, I was taken away by the performance in the film. But I was more taken away with watching my father. And in that 2 hours or so, I saw him really laugh, and I saw him really cry, and I saw him really have questions about the human experience as he was watching this film. And he was able to take him out of himself and his existence that he generally found confining and generally sad a lot of the time. And I knew right then, watching him go through this, that I wanted to be an actor. At that point, I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted to do that, probably a deep need in me, as I wanted to do that for my dad. And I wanted to do that for other people. I wanted to be able to tell a story and create things that will allow other people to have that type of experience. And that was when, right there, that was when I got my calling to tell story and to be an actor and a director and all the things that I went on to try and do. It all stems from that exact moment. And I'll never forget watching him almost as much as I was watching that movie.
Wow, I'm learning a lot about you. This is not the effect I thought this video was going to have. So was it specifically, do you think that it was the effect that it had on your dad watching that? Or was it watching that, this type of performative story has an effect on people in general?
Both. I mean, for it to crack the shell of my dad was earth-shattering for me.
Yeah.
Because I had never seen that happen. Ever seen that happen. And rarely after. So that was part of it. But then, what Jack Nicholson did in that role, and Christopher Lloyd and Danny DeVito, and I mean, over and over and over, so many people.
Yeah.
And the story itself, what it says about us as a people and how we struggle and what we need, and how we can overcome. All of that kind of thing all together, it just made it a very, very special moment in my life. And I was never the same after that, because after that, I was always focused on, this is what I want to do. Wow. And I know it stems from that moment.
I can't believe I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Hold on. Do you hear that?
You're up.
Do you hear that cat?
I did hear that cat. I can start to understand why you have so many plants in there.
I think I'm going to put the headphones down for a second and feed him, because that's what he wants.
Oh, okay. Well, you can snip this. You're in charge of it.
I'm just going to feed him as quickly as possible, and I'll be right back.
Hey, just a quick break from the show to say a very special thank you to all of our correspondents, our directors, and our producers here that help us build the channel. Together, they do so many things. They help us make decisions. They help us keep the lights on and keep rolling, all the way up to taking over our channel once a month and getting their content on our channel. If you're interested and you have any questions about it, right down there in the description box under the Patreon link, you can find out all about it. And just a very special thank you to all of these people. Now, back to the show.
And we're back.
So you're back. And we're back. Okay, cat's good?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I mean, that's interesting that you brought up the reasoning for that one, because that kind of leads into the one that I have coming up.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this now.
Which is, I mean, I'm gonna bring up Jaws, but my pick is not Jaws.
Okay, it's a twofer. You're bringing up just another one. Okay,
it begins with Jaws. So you and Mom, or just Mom, showed me Jaws when I was very young.
Yeah, I think that was Mom.
Probably Mom.
Yeah,
maybe against your advice, Mom showed me Jaws.
I don't know. I mean,
you're probably fine with it.
Moments anyway, parts of it, yeah.
Yeah, which to a kid, really scary movie, and it did scare me. But I think the reason I was so enamored with it was because I had Mom sitting there explaining all the behind the scenes stories.
Yeah.
And I started to understand, story's just kind of a big trick. And these movies are, it's just a compilation of shots and actors and things that are not real, but trying to convince you to feel a certain way. And if they pull it off,
but it convinced you
really well. Oh, it convinced me very well.
Because I remember how scared you were because how close SeaWorld was, how close SeaWorld to the house was coming into discussion after you watched part of that. Yeah.
I was not comfortable with that proximity.
No.
So for a really long time, I wanted to be a film director because of that.
Yeah.
And then I think around the time I hit the end of my junior year in college, I realized I want to be a film director, but no one's ever going to write a script for me. So I might as well just try and get good at writing my own.
Yeah.
And you and Mom recommended In Bruges to me.
Yeah.
As a movie to watch. And that was a movie that, by the time the credits rolled, I was like, if I can write anything that is half as meticulously crafted as this is, I will die a lucky person.
Yeah. We've done so many shows written by Martin McDonagh, who wrote and directed In Bruges.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant.
For those that don't know, I don't know how popular In Bruges is, but it's two hitmen that kind of do a job gone wrong in London, and their boss tells them to lay low in a small town in Belgium called Bruges.
Bruges, yeah.
Yeah. And this isn't totally a spoiler, but Bruges is kind of like purgatory. That's just an interesting thing if you want to watch it, knowing that.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of awaiting Judgment Day. But it's super funny, and down to the word, it's planned.
He will have you laughing at things, and the whole time you're laughing, you're questioning, I don't think I should find this funny. And yet, he like you say, he builds it so well that the tension has to release at that time in that way. He's amazing.
I think that is what I respected the most about it, is that it's not necessarily a plot, but the characters themselves. Every word is so finely selected, and the dialogue is built just so that because these people are who they are, just their existence means this story can only end one way.
Yeah.
There is nothing else that could possibly happen because these people are involved and they are who they are. Set.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So you knew at that point you were gonna write your own stuff.
Yeah. And that if anyone has like gone on Patreon and scrolled all the way down to the bottom, the short film that you and I did is there. And if anyone's watched it, it's heavily influenced by In Bruges, and I think it shows.
Yeah. Well, that's huge, man. That's huge to know that about yourself.
It remains one of my favorite movies of all time for that reason.
So you knew you were going to have to be a wordsmith. You're going to have to learn to write. That was something you'd have to put in your tool belt.
Yeah. And then I think once I had watched that movie and saw what you can do with writing, not just directing, then I was like, oh, this is where the power's at. I'm into this. So that
think about if you do both. Yeah.
That realization did not come until later, but
all right. So my next one's an actual book.
I'm shocked.
It's an actual book, and I've mentioned it before on the channel, so it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Yeah, but I remember in school, I can't remember exactly what year, I read, or it was assigned to us, and we read Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls.
Oh, God.
I'm
going to cry just thinking about it.
This thing jacked me up. And this is how it forever completely changed me, because I think I was at a time in my life that there was a lot going on. I remember there was a lot going on, and I remember when I finished that book, it was very late. I was supposed to be asleep. I didn't have a lamp, so I was crouched over by my nightlight on the floor, kind of finishing, and I was supposed to be asleep, and I was finishing, and I broke down. And I think it was just permission and a cathartic moment that allowed me to feel a whole bunch of things that were going on in my life at that time. And I did not understand that just words on a page could emotionally inform you and change you and give you permission to feel your own things as well as those of the character. I never understood that I knew they could transport you all the way back to The Hobbit and thrill me and give me this feeling. I didn't know they could emotionally do the dirty work of releasing everything that I had been carrying for far too long. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that. And that book taught me that. And I've come to find art in many mediums can do that.
Absolutely.
If you come in and you're open to it and you have no preconceived notions of what you want it to be, you're just here for what it is and you accept it. You come in with no preconceived notions except what it is in you. And then you let it wash over you and you accept it, and it affects you in this way that maybe you needed this cathartic moment. And I did not understand that until that moment as a young person reading that book. And to this day, I'm still affected by that moment. In stone, I have that moment in my head.
Man, you and I had different reactions to Where the Red Fern Grows. I mean, not that like it wasn't sad or whatever, but I finished Where the Red Fern Grows and just wanted to point a finger at my English teacher and say, "You suck for making me read that." That was evil.
Man, that's a journey. That's a tough one. That is a very tough one.
That's a rough time. Yeah.
Yeah. But I needed it. And
it's
was
very
thankful.
Real. It's a traumatic experience that most people go through is losing.
I think it was very real for me because we grew up in a place where I went hunting with my grandfather and father, and I grew up doing a lot of those things.
Yeah.
And it was it was very, very effective for me.
If anyone has not read Where the Red Fern Grows,
no, don't say anything. I mean, But,
well, I mean, don't expect.
It is an emotional ride. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah. No, it's you will not be happy.
No. Well, my next one is kind of trauma based as well.
Oh wow! See, we're like in sync
We're kind
here.
of simpatico. Yeah, we're working together. I like it. This is a movie you have not seen.
Okay.
Which, I mean, once again, I really thought about putting Jaws on this list, but I didn't do it. Because it was that first time that I thought story was the ultimate trick, and if I can create this atmospheric environment and plot and emotional characters, it can influence you. Mm-hmm. But to me, that movie gets beat out because no other movie has done that to me more than Elim Klimov's Come and See, which is a Soviet-era film. It's not in English, it's a foreign language film. But it follows a young boy who desperately wants to join the war effort and then finds himself kind of worming himself in there because he's originally told no, and he kind of sneaks his way in. And just the horrors that this kid goes through is...
the loss of innocence.
The loss of innocence. And it's not only on the page, it's visual. Like by the time you get to the end of this movie, this kid looks like he's 90 years old. And part of it is because of makeup and part of it is because of acting, that you can just see the frozen shoulders and the 1,000-yard stare. And I rarely cry at movies, but the ending of this movie is
a fact.
So moving.
And are you telling me you teared up at a movie? I've never seen that.
The end of this movie is so powerful that I teared up because the messaging is so clear and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
To me, there will never be another war movie as powerful as Come and See, ever.
See, I knew you were going to have to pull up some bizarre film school Soviet era choice.
My next one is foreign language as well.
Oh, see, this is okay.
I mean, I can't recommend that you watch it because it's a really rough time. But if you want to sign up for that, it's a great movie.
All right, my next one's a movie too.
Oh, wow. You got so many more things that are not books that I was not expecting.
But you know what? But these stories really, and I think you've heard this story before. I think I've told this story before. But
okay.
It changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
This movie. And I had just moved back from LA, and friends called and said, "Hey, we're doing a show. Come down to the theater." Went down to the theater, met your mom, first night of rehearsal. Right?
Yes.
And after rehearsal one night, we were hanging out. We were talking, in the parking lot, kind of wired from rehearsing and weren't quite ready to go home yet. And we're just, hanging out. And she threw a movie line out. And I know 100%, and I knew right at that moment, oh, that's a test. And I knew exactly the line, and I knew exactly the answering line. So she threw out a line from Raising Arizona, directed by the Coen brothers, starring Nicolas Cage, Holly Hunter. And we were just talking. I'm not sure how it came up, but I'll always remember. And we were just talking, and she just threw out there, "Yeah, it's a crazy world." And I just said back, "Somebody ought to sell tickets." And she'd say, "I'd buy one." And we knew we had done the lines back and forth. We knew we both loved the Coen brothers. We knew we both had the same kind of sensibilities with film. And it was just like, at that point, I'm pretty sure at that point we both knew this is I think I got a wife from that test right there. I think I got the best partner in the world from knowing that line in a Coen Brothers flick.
Raising Arizona got you a wife. Yes. Is that what you're saying?
I'm pretty sure I owe my entire life and existence to the Coen Brothers. That's what I'm saying.
Well, we all do to an extent.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, that was just a huge moment. I'll never forget it.
That's about as powerful as it gets.
Right? Come on.
Well, now we're not simpatico. I got something that's not love related, but it did bring me a little full circle as an individual. So In Bruges kind of got me into writing, and I was full bore on that for a while. Then I saw a movie that I had been wanting to see for a really long time, but it wasn't available anywhere for a while until it suddenly became available to buy on Google Play. And I bought it immediately. I was in college. I was broke. There was no way I should have been buying this movie. I should have been buying food instead, but I still bought it.
Sure.
And it was Memories of Murder by Bong Joon-ho.
Oh yeah, well I know you've got the poster on your wall, so I know that's a biggie. Yeah.
Oh, this movie! Once again, I don't cry often, but I teared up at the end of this movie simply because the visual storytelling is that good. I've never seen it done better, and to me, that I had been strayed away from wanting to direct and was all in on writing. I got to see the two work together in this movie.
Yeah.
And create an ending that is so satisfactory in its absence. Because the movie doesn't necessarily have a concrete end. There's not an ending to this person's story, and that's kind of the point if you watch it. But to see those components come together in a way that was so moving, I teared up at the end. And still, every time I watch that movie, and I've rewatched it a lot of times, I get goosebumps every time.
Wow, that's awesome! I love that. I love that feeling. I think it was Chekhov that said the story's over when you say it's over. There should always be more. There's more life. There's always more life. Yeah. But when the writer says the story's over is when the story's over. Right?
And it's based on real events, so that fits there as well. It's based on the first ever serial killer in Korea. It was some horrible things that this one person did, like some very aggressive sexual assault, if you understand what I'm saying, to several young women. And the policing system was so broken and egotistical that the killer should have been caught easily. But the police were completely incapable of putting their own ego aside to even solve the case. And the movie's about them.
Oh, wow. Sounds great.
Yeah, it's really amazing. So that kind of brought me full circle into how to tell a story.
Yeah, or how you would want
How I would want to tell a story.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that kind of leads into, this is my last one, right? This is number 5.
This is it.
Okay, so this kind of leads into exactly what I'm going to say, and it's a little bit. We've kind of tipped our cards or tipped our hand a little bit. So when I met your mom, we not only did we get together, we founded a theater company and built it on our own. And we have been telling stories together since the moment we met, right? And for me, these stories that have changed me is after you graduated college and we did a short film, we told a story together, and we built that story. And you allowed me to do. You wrote it, but you allowed me to come in and change a thing here or there because I can't help myself from doing that. But just to be there with you and to be part of that, and then a little bit after that, the project that me, you, and your mom have all been working on and writing on and creating and pulling our hair out over now for I've even lost track of how many years.
3 years.
3 years. That we've had a writer's room together that we're still. I mean, your mom and I have been, I think married 27 years, and we're still creating and writing stories together. And even though when you were very, very young, I tried everything I could to steer you away from the arts because it's heartbreaking in a lot of ways. I can't tell you how proud and fulfilled I am to be in a position where your mother and you and I are working and creating stories together. And it makes me feel like I won the lottery every day. And I can't tell you, I couldn't imagine a better life. And I'm just, for me, these two stories at the end are the ones that we've kind of worked on and made together as a family.
Man, I knew you were going to one-up me. That's so sweet. I mean, I feel the same way, obviously. I didn't know we could pick our own book for the final one. That's unfair.
I mean, well, there were no one gave you rules.
That is true. And you know what? Because of that, I have some honorable mentions to throw out there.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Do whatever you want to do, man.
I got to shout out Nosferatu for doing a whole lot with the absolute basics. I got to shout out Spirited Away for escapism that we'll all be talking about for probably decades. And I got to shout out Perfect Blue for the best handling of dream sequences that I've ever seen.
Awesome.
That's my list.
That was your number 5?
I'll throw our own book on there. Why not?
Yeah. And the flick we did.
And Firelight.
Yeah, I mean, the stories
Firelight
we've done together.
And the untitled book that we've done together.
Yeah, that we can't release yet. But I mean, come on, don't you feel like that's, I mean, I think those are.
That's what should bring it full circle. You're right.
I will be somewhere in a rocking chair, maybe drooling down my shirt, waiting for my afternoon Jell-O to be brought to me. And I'm going to remember building these stories with you and your mother, and there being moments where, we pulled our hair out. We fought because we cared, but we always overcame and came back together and did what was best for the story and kept moving forward. I mean, that's life in a bottle, right? In a nutshell.
Yeah. And this might be pulling back the curtain a little bit, but we kind of crossed a finish line. I don't know how much I can say, a few days ago. And
yeah, we had a high water mark a few days ago. So I think we got to leave it there. Yeah.
Yeah. But after that, I kind of found myself looking back at the past 3 years and thinking, I'll remember all of this until I die. I know I will.
Yeah.
That's an experience. Same. I feel like maybe nobody gets with their parents, to be that close with the two of you and create something the way that we did.
Yeah. But I hope it's the first of many, my son.
Well, it's a series, so we kind of have to. So
we'll see.
Let's not anger each other too much. Or,
one of us could flip tables and walk away. You don't know.
I'm sure one of us has thought about it.
Yeah, probably more than once. All right. Well, you had, 7? I had 5. We broke rules. We put a list out there. I think we nailed the assignment, right?
I mean, it's an assignment you made, so I think you got to be the judge. Did we do what we set out to do?
I'm going to say we did. I'm going to say we did what we set out to do. I don't know. You let us know. You tell us in comments how we did. This was very different for us. This is not what we usually do. We're just trying something new, and I hope everyone that came along had some enjoyment out of it and learned a little bit more about us. And hit us up in comments. Let us know some of yours. When was that moment where that story hit you that you knew, oh, I see the world differently. I may be different going forward. This changes things. We all have those. We all have those stories that kind of get under our skin or hit us just right at that moment that we know we know going forward, this is not going to be the same. And I would love to know what some of yours are. We love comments. I answer every comment that comes in. We answer them as quickly as we can answer them, because that's the whole reason we started this channel, was to talk back and forth about books and stories that people that love the kind of books and stories that we love here. So while you're down there, also hit that thumbs up button. Helps us meet new people and grow and get new friends under the tent, so we can talk story with more and more and more people. And hey, if this is your first time, or maybe a time or two, and you haven't quite hit that subscription button yet, oh, boop, it takes no time. You're done. And you kind of have that feeling when you find that special story. It's like, oh my gosh, I found a place to hang out and talk about this kind of stuff with people that get it and get me. And it gives you that kind of a tingle that you can get when you have that special story hit you in your life just at that right time. And it's a scientific proven fact. Check out the Tingle Papers on our Discord. And that leads me to say, hey, if you want to check out more, down there is Instagram and Twitter and Blue Sky and Discord and Patreon. All that kind of stuff is all down there. Check it all out if you want to.
If we keep adding things for people to check out, our outro is going to be like 20 minutes long. This is absurd.
That's not my problem. That's the best. That's the best producer on BookTube's problem.
We should just stop. We should start removing things that we offer to people, so our outro can be shorter.
Yeah, that's the whole goal we're going for here, is a short outro.
Yeah, that you know what?
I think my goal is goals. I think my goal is to never say the word outro again. If I could make that happen, I'd be quite pleased with myself.
You already said it.
You've made me say it 2 or 3 times, and now I have to go wash.
Now you got to do the real outro. End it. Bring it home.
That's how I feel about this. Hey, if you're still here
in the outro,
if you're still here, oh my gosh, you're book people, and in my book, that makes you the best people. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is John Minton. That is
Bong Joon-ho.
You know what?
Mickey 17 comes out soon. Everyone better go see it.
You know what? We should go see that together.
I would love to go see that together.
Okay, let's make that a thing, because I don't think Mom or Amanda would want to see that.
No, they're not going to see that, but we'll go.
All right, so that's a date. Yeah. We're gonna make that happen. All right, awesome. We'll see you next time real soon on Talking Story.
Let's raise a can of Dr. Pepper with TBRs piled high with blessed from above. In every smile and every cheer, the tingle of Christmas.